Welcome to the Waxacast with Victor Simonelli. I am Rob John Webb, and today I'm going to ask you 10 questions, Victor, about your music career and your life in DJing and music, etc. So, question number one: do you prefer DJing on vinyl or MP3?
Do I prefer vinyl
Or digital?
I love vinyl, and I mean, that's how I grew up. That's how I learned. That's how it started. So I don't have a preference either or, really, to be honest. Or let me rephrase that. There's some things I like more about vinyl, and some things I like there's some things I like more about digital. So, for example, what's great about vinyl is it's physical.
Of course.
You have visual reference.
Yeah.
It's something you're touching. I really got familiar with the grooves and where things were happening within a tune. And following the grooves in that way as well, besides listening. One of the negatives about vinyl is it's heavy.
Absolutely, mate. We don't miss those boxes, not at all. Absolutely.
So traveling with vinyl can be challenging, especially today with how much we're bouncing around.
Yeah, sure. Do you still play vinyl or not? Or do you still put a bit in there, or is it?
Sure. I listen, I have a great collection, and I'll still buy vinyl sometimes, but do I still play it? Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, not very frequently out, but
No.
I'm always willing to. I love vinyl.
Of course, yeah.
The best part of working with USBs is it's light to travel with.
Absolutely. Just your headphones are heavier. Who'd have thought that?
They are. They are.
Brilliant. But yeah, I know what you're saying. You grew up on vinyl. It's like you came from that school of that thought. And but as I say, it's just convenient now, isn't it? Cool. Question number two: what record do you wish you had made?
What record do I wish I had made? Wow.
Yeah. Can be any genre, anything. Got you there.
That's something to really think about, that I wish I had made. And you don't necessarily mean record only. You mean the song, right?
The song. If any song by another artist that you would have loved to have produced, whether it's a house track or a funk track or.
I don't think I could answer that question. It's just
too broad.
Put it this way. I just appreciate artistry so much, and when it's coming from someone else, I mean, I'm a fan first. So
yeah, absolutely.
I've never thought about, I wish I could have made that. I've thought about when I've heard something that I didn't think was as good as it could be, I thought I could hear myself improving this and that on it.
Okay, but let's rephrase that question then. What track would you love to remix if you could get the parts to?
Well, you know what? I'd rephrase that to which ones I wouldn't, because there are so many perfect tunes out there that I wouldn't want to touch.
Do you want to touch? Yeah. If it broke,
there's just so
don't
many
fix it.
It's just And to tell you the truth, to be totally honest, my real preference is creating from scratch. I really like. I really like creating original material, and of course being inspired by others. I mean, it's
I get
the creative process is just it's so special.
Of course, yeah. I understand where you come from. It's $1 million question, isn't it? It's something that can't truly be answered. Okay. What record never leaves your set?
What record never leaves my set? Well, you're asking some good questions.
I've been planning this, mate.
Yeah, I'd say, well, if we talk about from the 90s forward, I would say
pick one from the 90s.
Or even
that's not your own production.
Yeah, that Roy Davis. I believe it. Yeah, Roy Davis, The Believers.
Okay, which one? Who Dares to Believe in Me?
Yeah. I think that's always with me. And
Strictly.
I thought I thought he did an amazing job with that.
Oh, yeah.
That's just one. That's one off.
That's a good answer.
But that's from the 90s. I mean, look. Since I was following my dad around doing gigs, that's from the 70s. So
yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm just, that's one off the top of my head from the 90s.
Absolutely, that's a great answer. That's a great answer.
It worked then. It works now.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a timeless classic. Okay, what would you tell your younger self now if you could go back to your 18-year-old self when you started out when you was young, and what would you tell yourself if you could tell him one thing about music, DJing, producing, live, whatever?
Well, you're not going to be. This is what I would say to my younger self. You wouldn't be able to imagine this in your wildest dreams. But it's for some releases, it's going to take you getting into a position where you're set up to release stuff.
Yeah.
And there's going to be many years in between the time you create a production until the time you're able to release it. So
Oh
be
yeah.
patient.
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
patient.
Patience. Absolutely.
Don't be in a rush to do anything. Don't do it with the wrong crowd or the wrong outlet. Make sure everything is in place the way you want it to be before releasing.
Right. So you don't rush releases.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't rush releases. And in fact, I think I realized that to a certain extent, especially as time went forward, I started to realize it. And I still have so much that's not been completed since that time.
Okay.
And, you know, technology has gone ahead. I mean, there's tunes that I started on tape that I still haven't finished. So in a certain way, I did understand that, but in other ways I didn't, because in other ways, sometimes I wanted to rush. But look, there's negatives and positives to both sides of that. Even when I did rush and get the stuff out quick, I mean, there are some positives to that too. So there's a lot to think about in this
of
business.
course.
You know, it's music business. So
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. That's okay. I get you. Be patient is the rule.
Yeah, I would say to my younger self, be patient. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next question. Who would you most like to collaborate with? One person or a band?
Yeah, I would say one other producer would be Giorgio Moroder.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that
one of the godfathers of electronics, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think so, and I think he's done so much and so many in so many styles. But what I like most from him is when he was doing it for the clubs.
Yeah.
In the 70s, you know, and I think that I would like to assist him, and not that he needs assistance at all, but just from a fan point of view, I'd like to assist him in rediscovering the magic of that in some new material. I just think that it's, from the sound of it, it sounds like in recent years he's had his eyes and ears more onto the commercial side of things, but he's not completely realizing that how much of a fan base he has in the more underground side of things.
Okay, cool. I read somewhere that he never copyrighted the bass line to Donna Summer.
Wow.
I'm sure that he never copyrighted it, he said in an interview once, which is surprising. But yeah. Okay, so Giorgio Moroder would be the one.
That's one. I mean, there's others, but that's one. That's one off the top of my head.
Excellent. So the next question kind of rolls into this one. Who is your biggest inspiration in life, either friend, family, or another musician?
From very early on, my dad was a very big inspiration to me, because when he played the records for me, he taught me not only to listen, but to experience them. I mean, just my earliest memories of him playing a tune, acting out as if he was performing it, and then asking me after we listened to it, what did I hear? What did I like? What did I dislike? What could I add to it? What would I change in it? What would I make louder or softer? How the lyrics affected me? How certain instruments affected me?
Wow.
Yeah, just all kinds of things. He had me dissecting from a very early age.
So was your dad a DJ then? Was he a DJ or just a
collector? Well, first and foremost, a collector.
Yeah.
But then from that, sort of grew into just throwing parties of his own, and just for the love of it, not as a profession at all.
So did you throw parties in New York in your neighborhood, or?
Well, he would actually rent a dance hall, and he'd throw parties for teens, sort of like a teen disco.
Yeah.
And that was when we were moving around. He worked for the government, so it had us moving around at some point. So when we were out west, he did that some, and but listening with him in the music room that he had.
Okay.
Well, at one point it was in our living room, but as we moved around, he set up a music room, and then I really learned to appreciate music from him, and he was a very big inspiration,
of course,
and still is. I mean, his musical knowledge is awesome. His collection ranges from the 40s all the way up until the 80s.
Wow. So yeah, a big inspiration was your dad. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's your first tutor, I suppose, isn't he? So you know, he's going to lead the way, isn't he?
Yeah, and he absolutely did.
That's great. Next question: what was your most memorable gig? Do you have one?
Yeah, I do. I'd say I really have a memorable gig. There's several, but the most standout to me is the one in Spain. It was on one of the Canary Islands called Lanzarote.
Okay, yeah, I know it. Yeah.
And the venue was called Jameos de Agua.
Wow.
And it was actually in an underground cave.
Okay.
I mean, deep in the cave.
Right.
And
rave in a cave.
It was totally. You would have. I highly advise it to anyone who goes there. And there's one side of the cave is a theater where they would have some theatrical performances. I didn't see that, but the other side where I was a club, and absolutely amazing environment and sound. I expected it to be very reverbery, if that's even a word.
Yeah, I get you, with the cave reverbs, yeah.
But it was a total opposite, because it was volcanic rock, so it was very absorbent.
Okay.
So it's an extremely warm sound, and I remember playing a tune with some horns, some live horns, and I really had to just look around because I thought some horn players stepped up and got involved.
Yeah.
it was that warm, and
Wow.
the capacity. I mean, there was a lot of people there.
Yeah. When was that? What year was that? Can you remember?
I would say that's about, I don't know, just five or so years ago.
Okay, so quite a recent gig.
And it had me thinking, advice for older friends of mine or people who have been in it as long as I have.
Yeah.
Is that just keep on going?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
It can get better. It really can get better. And when I was there, I'm thinking, gosh, if I would have stopped, or thinking about some friends that in the business that did stop along the way for whatever reason. Sometimes it can get tough. But I thought about, I'm grateful I didn't stop, because it's gotten me here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're still out and about doing it. You're now you're a legend. You are part of that legacy from New York. You, Todd Terry, Masters at Work. You are. That's just a fact. Okay, so next one then. What track that you've produced are you most proud of? I'm just going to show you a few bits here, because I've got Voices of Faith here. Look.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got the Illegal album, which is Solution. This is the UK pressing. So right. Feels right. Yeah. And then, of course, the Creme de la Creme, which is Do You Feel Me? Out of those three, which one would you be the most proud of?
I'm really grateful to have done all of them, and all have a story. Each
of course,
one has a story.
Absolutely.
I can't. This may sound silly, but making songs, you may be able to relate to a little bit, because you produce and you write. So it's a piece of yourself. I mean, you can relate it. You can relate it to a child. A child is a piece of us.
Yeah, I get you.
And so is a composition. So is a production. It is. We're creating something, and we're bringing it and leaving it in this world.
Absolutely, it is. I get what you mean. It's a birth. It's a creation.
It is a birth. It's a total birth, and each of those has its own story, and the way they come together. Just some details, for instance, on the Voice of Faith. So there's one on there called "Clap Your Hands," and that's an EP, by the way.
Is it the gospel track?
Say again. It's a gospel.
It's the gospel
track,
one, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, I had been attending Brooklyn Tabernacle at the time frequently, and they have a massive choir there, so it was really inspiring. So I just felt like I want to do something that's bringing that feeling to the clubs.
Yeah. I get you.
So yeah, I got that kind of groove going, and I was downtown. I came out of the subway right at City Hall, and there were 2 or 3 homeless harmonica players playing on the street, and it got me to stop, and listen to them. And I thought, wow, this would sound great over what I started. So I talked to one; he wasn't interested. Long story short, I talked to the other one, and he said, "Yeah, I'd be interested in coming down to the studio." But I said, "Could I have your number?" He said, "No, I don't have a number. I'm homeless."
Wow.
I said, "I'm just so sorry. If let me give you the address. Let me give you a time and date. I'll meet you there."
Yeah.
And so,
and he turned up.
He turned up. We recorded him, and that's that harmonica solo on there.
Wow, that's a great. Like you say, stories. It's got a background.
There's stories. They're all stories, and I'm putting love into each and every one.
Absolutely. I get that. Perfect. That's a great answer. And the last question is, this is going to throw you back a bit. What was the first record you personally went out and bought?
I personally went out and bought, right. So it was before. Yeah, I can. It may not have been the very first, but it was definitely amongst the first.
Yeah.
So the Songs in the Key of Life album by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't buy it on record. I bought it on an 8-track tape.
Okay. Wow.
So we had a format in America. I don't know if you
I know it. Yeah, it's 8-track cassettes. Yeah. It didn't take off over here, but it was big in the States.
Yeah, it was. We had them in cars in the States, and I had a home stereo at home that played 8-track tapes. This had to be 19. What year did that come out? 75,
74, 75, yeah.
Yeah, it was around in mid-70s anyway.
Wow.
And that was one of the first ones I bought, and I remember listening to it in my room. One thing I didn't like about 8-tracks is as they're playing, sometimes in the middle of the song, it would fade, click to the next track, and then it'd fade back up.
Okay.
That was really annoying. But
Old technology for you.
But
wow.
yeah, I mean, Sir Duke
Brilliant.
was one of the early tunes that touched me from that album, and
Yeah, brilliant. That's great.
great. The whole album's great.
And then final bit of notice, you're playing in Brighton tomorrow, you said.
But yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. With the Zap reunion at the Corn Exchange in Brighton.
Perfect.
My set time is at 5 p.m.
5 p.m. It's an all day.
Yeah, it is an all day.
Perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
Right, listen, Victor Simonelli, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on my Waxacast, and thank you very much for your time. And I look forward to seeing some new releases from you in the future, perhaps.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And I'll be
constantly working on stuff. Look, while we're here, let me just mention the labels. So I have Baseline, Big Tracks, Brooklyn Tracks, Unknown, Stellar, and West Side, and they're all on Track Source and
Beatport, etc.
There you go. My son's label is Good Groove.
Your son's label?
Yeah, my son's like my eldest son, Emmanuel Simonelli. He's producing now. He has a label called Good Groove, and actually, our first collaboration was just released on his label. The title is Brooklyn Shuffle.
Excellent. So you're keeping it in the family, keeping it rolling
from
dad to you, to your son. It's a family affair.
Music is contagious, brother.
I know, mate. Tell me about it.
You know it.
Tell me. Right, brilliant. Victor Simonelli, thank you very much. Take care. Goodbye.
Great questions.
Thank you.